the Morning X, Barnes, Leslie, and Jimmy. We are speaking with Ray Shaddick. Ray was on President Reagan's Secret Service detail.
So where were you in proximity to President Reagan when this whole thing took place? Lead us through what happened.
Okay, this happened March 30th, 1981 at the Washington Hilton Hotel. And the president had just finished a speech to the National Association of Manufacturers, and as he was coming out of the hotel, we must have been about 10 feet from the limousine, and I was on his right side, slightly to his rear, and Jerry Parr. Now, Jerry Parr was the agent in charge of Presidential Protective Division at that time. We were approaching the car, approximately 10 feet from the car, when 6 shots rang out at about, total time, about 1.6 seconds. So that particular day, we used a Lincoln Continental. It was an old version of the Lincoln where the doors open from front to rear,
right?
Versus the way the doors open today on Lincoln Continentals. So that acted as a shield. That armored door acted as a shield. As we moved to the car, when the first shots were fired, the agents incidentally responded to that situation on the third shot. The third shot was the one that hit Agent Tim McCarthy. First shot hit Jim Brady. Second shot hit Officer Delahunty of the Washington Metropolitan Police Department. Third shot hit Tim McCarthy. Fourth shot hit the door, the armored door. Did not penetrate the door. And at that point, the president was being moved into the car. The fifth shot was a shot that hit him. Now, a lot of people thought that as he was waving his arm at the people that he was shot at that point. Well, he was not. He was shot as he was being moved into the car, and it was a fluke because it actually ricocheted off the armored car, the right rear quarter panel of that car.
And where did it hit Reagan?
It hit him under the left arm.
That's what I thought.
As he was being shoved in the car, the round hit the right rear quarter panel, ricocheted, passed in between an area between the door and the quarter panel. Now, keep in mind that door was open the other way, so it provided a shield. So it ricocheted, hit him under the arm, flattened out about the size of a dime, hit him under the arm, ricocheted off a rib, and then lodged in his lung. Now, as we shoved him in the car, the sixth shot was fired. At that point, the agents had grabbed the weapon, and the sixth round went through an office building window across the street.
So
and
6 shots in 1.6 seconds?
1.6 seconds, and I think what impressed me later when I looked at that whole scenario and looked at it on video was that everybody was moving into position on that third shot. I mean, Tim McCarthy, certainly the hero of the day, he actually moved into position between the president and Hinckley.
He did what agents are trained to do, which every agent wonders if they will be able to do when it comes down to it, right? He stepped in front of the bullet.
And what do I attribute that to? And really the reaction that day is to the repetitive training we go through to prevent something like that. I mean, you don't have time to think about a situation like that. I mean, you give the analogy of a football player going through the line and wonder how the heck he got through. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it's just sheer luck. But it's that constant training, that constant drilling, and that's what Tim did that day. I mean, he did what he was supposed to have done.
In that constant training, though, how are you psychologically or emotionally trained to be ready for something like that?
It's that repetitive training over and over again that you go through at our training division, it's practical exercises where you go through those time and time again, so that when there's an incident, when there's shots fired, you respond in a certain way.
Well, to react,
you don't have a lot of time to think.
Right.
And I give that analogy as an athlete, where you don't think, you just do it. And I think if you thought, you might get a different response. I mean, I don't know.
If you had 1.6 seconds and they reacted on the third bullet, that's about a third of a second. That's pretty quick.
No, it's amazing. I mean, when you look at it, and the FBI did an excellent job on one of the videos where they actually showed the sequence of shots, each shot fired and what happened, what the reaction of the agents were. In the first shot, there wasn't much reaction at all. Second shot, you could see concern on folks' faces. Third shot, they were moving. They were moving into position, moving to cover the president. Fourth shot, he was being moved down. Fifth shot, he was being moved into the car. And the sixth shot, he was in the car.
Now you.
As I said, it's the training that I attribute that to, that quick response.
When he was moved into the car, were you then in the car with him?
No. My job at that point was to man the follow-up car, which is a car right behind his. Jerry Parr went in that car. Now, if I had known he had been shot, I would have gotten in the car with Jerry, but I was convinced we had gotten him out of there unscathed.
When you were right there when the bullets went off, what was the first thing? Do you remember, did President Reagan say anything?
No, he didn't have time to say anything.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, they didn't know he was shot until the car was already out of there, right?
Right. I mean, Jerry did a great job of getting him down, and I did a great job of driving him right through the other side of the car.
Didn't he say?
He thought we thought we heard him when we shoved him in the car.
Right, that's what I had heard, and then he thought so too. He thought he'd just been roughed up a little bit.
Yeah, he had mentioned that his ribs were bothering him, and Jerry en route. We were en route to the White House, and Jerry had thought that his ribs were just bothering him until he started to bleed from the mouth. And when he bled from the mouth, Jerry could see, looking at his mouth, that it was not just a cut lip, that it was external bleeding. It was bright red oxygenated blood. And Jerry, at that point, called on the air and said, "We're going to the hospital."
Right.
And even when we got to the hospital, I mean, he was fine, and he tried to get out of the car. He got out of the car, but you could see he was very ashen in color. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was clear he wasn't okay, but he says, I'm okay, I can walk. Yeah, he took a few steps, and then he collapsed, and then we had to take him into the emergency room.
It was spooky because I was there about 3 to 4 days after it had happened on a school trip in 8th grade, and there was still blood on the sidewalk at the Hilton.
Oh boy!
And it spooked me. It was
probably Jim Brady.
Well, Jim Brady,
he was
hitting the head and hitting the left side of the head, and did damage to the right side of his brain, which in turn withered his left side, left arm. And
so, which part of the Secret Service went after the gunman? Was there like a certain group that like immediately goes after him?
Yeah, there are agents that are posted there, and there are also agents that are part of an intelligence team that would roam that area.
Do you interrogate? Did you, or does the Secret Service interrogate Hinckley, or how does that?
Yes, we would be involved in that. The FBI would be involved, and the local police also, the Washington Metropolitan Local Police.
Were you in part of that yourself?
Oh no, I was at the hospital. I didn't get involved in that at all. In fact, I was there at the hospital. Oh gosh, let's see. This happened at 2:46, so I was there probably at the hospital from 3 o'clock until about 1 o'clock in the morning.
I heard, and I have read since then, that because even though the newspaper reports and certainly the White House press releases said that after the assassination attempt he was fine and he was in good health and everything was bright and rosy, but I understand that it actually was a lot more serious than Americans were at first led to believe. That he was very close to not making it through at certain points.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how bad he was. I know he was conscious through the whole process. In fact, I remember in the actual operating room where he looked up at all the doctors, and this is when they were going to put him under, and he said, he looked at them all and he said, "I hope all you folks are Republicans." Right,
I remember that comment.
So he was certainly able to think and communicate at that point. How bad? I mean, anytime you have an internal injury like that,
sure,
particularly to the lungs, but I tell you that he was in outstanding shape for a man that age.
The best of the Morning X. 99X.